Happy Sunday, everybody. I hope everyone's having a great weekend. Today in this video, we're going to be talking about Justin Trudeau. He's a bully, he's an idiot, and above all else, he's a tyrant. We're going to be taking a look at some of the tyrannical things that he's done, but also he is backpedaling because he's in full panic mode. The Liberal cabinet here in Canada is plummeting in the polls. They have little to no support, and they're realizing if we don't make severe changes, we're going to lose the next election, which, by the way, spoiler alert, they have pretty much already lost. We're going to take a look at the polls in just a moment. But before we do, I want to encourage you to give a like and subscribe if you haven't yet already. It really helps grow the channel. Now, the contents of this video that we're going to be hyper-focusing on is the tyrannical bills that Justin Trudeau passed in terms of regulating podcasts and how he's trying to censor the internet. Joe Rogan has some very harsh words to say about Justin Trudeau, which is why I've teamed up with Private Internet Access to sponsor today's video. Thank you, Private Internet Access, for sponsoring this video. Now, before I play the ad, I do want to let you know that it's very important to make sure that you are digitally protected so that you can access not just content that you want like Netflix and Hulu or Crave or whatever it is, but also the news and information. Justin Trudeau's already banned it on Facebook with Bill C-11, and who knows when that's going to happen here on YouTube. Roll the ad. I want to thank today's sponsor, Private Internet Access. We've teamed up together, and PIA is willing to offer my audience 83% off by using code SUNSHINE. Now, here in Canada with Justin Trudeau in power, not only is he kind of like a communist dictator, but he's also censoring the internet, which is why you need a VPN to encrypt yourself and be able to bounce around different geolocations to really mask your not only digital footprint, but to mask your identity, because right now it's hard enough as it is to even get the news. That's right. Bill C-18 prevents users, everyday people such as yourself, myself, from accessing simple information that is our freedom of rights to information here in Canada. If you go on Facebook, you currently can't even see Canadian news. It's wild, and who knows what's next. Maybe he's going to ban everything with Google, maybe here on YouTube. So you need to cover yourself and protect yourself with a VPN such as Private Internet Access. And what better way to do that here in Canada than having 83% off? The link for that is down in the description below, as well as the pinned comment. Use code SUNSHINE with Private Internet Access for 83% off. Thank you, Private Internet Access, for sponsoring today's video. All right, so let's look at the polls. The Liberal government in Canada is in a downward trajectory. Like, I don't think we've ever seen anything similar to this here in Canada. The popular vote projection, the Conservatives are 40% plus or minus 4%. Liberals are down to 28%. NDP is hovering at 16 or 18%. And it seems like there's a somewhat decent chance right now of the NDP really overtaking the Liberal Party of Canada, which is obviously what Jagmeet wants and Trudeau's biggest fear, because then he's completely useless to Jagmeet and the NDP. Now, in Canada, you need 170 seats for majority. It's right now, as of today, predicted for the Conservative Party to win 205 seats, which is well past, obviously, the 170 threshold. And when you look at the odds of winning, the Conservative Party is still sitting at 99% likelihood, and the odds of winning a majority government are still at 93%, with a whopping 7% minority government. So it's looking pretty good, and I've said this before and I will say it again. I firmly believe, I don't encourage, but I firmly believe that Pierre Poire for the Conservative Party of Canada could do blackface a couple of times, could invite a Waffen SS soldier into Parliament at least once, not more than maybe 3 times. Let's give him a second one in this hypothesis, and he would still be ahead in the polls because Justin Trudeau had a Waffen SS soldier in Parliament, and they did not 1 but 2 standing ovations, and he's done blackface numerous times. Who knows? Maybe you know down in the comments, once, twice, thrice, 5 times. Who's to say? But it's not looking good, and well, he's flip-flopping on pretty much, Justin Trudeau is flip-flopping on all of his policies. So let's take a look at what Pierre Poilievre has to say about that. Last year, Trudeau refused to cut home heating.
To exempt home heating this winter from that tax hike.
It's important that we, as we debate in this House, we ground ourselves in facts. The reality is, Mr. Speaker, and average family in this country receives more money from us putting a price on carbon pollution than they pay.
A few moments later.
Why wait until now to do this?
I think this is an important moment where we're adjusting policies so that they have the right outcome. This team behind me worked incredibly hard with our ministers, with our whole team, to get it right. It's a program that took a lot of hard work, a lot of hard work, a lot of hard work, a lot of hard work.
Oh my goodness.
This team behind me worked incredibly hard.
Trudeau is panicking and he's in a spiral downward trajectory, which is why he's trying to censor the internet. I mean, you can't blame him, right? There's such a massive, well, I mean, you can blame him. Don't take that out of context. But the reasoning, one can just hypothesize and imagine why Justin Trudeau is trying to censor the internet. And we're going to take a look at what Joe Rogan has to say about that in a minute, is because he's lost any sort of support. When you look at the support online and the polls from an actual polling company through 38 Federal Polling, it's all leaning against Justin Trudeau and for the Conservative Party of Canada. People are fed up. The rhetoric is get Trudeau out, go with Pierre Poilievre, axe attacks. And when it comes time to voting, it doesn't matter how hardcore of a leftist you are, how many pride flags you hang up on the front of your lawn, or how much soji you want in schools. People are going to vote with their money. They're going to vote with their paychecks, because homes, home affordability, home heating, groceries, costs of living, everything that costs money, which is everything in life, is at such an unaffordable rate right now. And it's only getting worse. And people want to be able to buy things. They want to go on vacation. They want to be able to have a house. They want to be able to invest. And you can't do that here in Canada. Canada is currently one of the most expensive places in the world to live. Are you a multimillionaire? I certainly am not. So I just can't understand how we've reached this point. Well, I mean, most people can, and I guess I should backtrack on those words, because it would seem like Justin Trudeau and the Liberal incompetence is why. And now, above and beyond costs, he's trying to regulate podcasts. Let's take a look at Joe Rogan and what he has to say about this.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
They're regulating podcasts in Canada.
Oh yeah, and I was reading about this bill, because I woke up and we're jet lagged, so I woke up at a ridiculous time. I went on the phone, which you should never do. Let's be honest, that is a bad way to start the day.
It's not good.
No. And then I was reading about what they're doing. It's terrifying. So they want to bring in this bill whereby they regulate podcasts. So what they want to do is every podcast streamer or whatever it is, platform that makes more than $10 million revenue, not profit, revenue, has to register with the Canadian government. They then want them to hand over information about their content and the people listening to their to their
oh my God.
to the government.
Imagine
Trudeau.
getting a hold of Alex Jones's email list.
Probably a bunch of senators on there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. But I mean, imagine.
Yeah.
And then
the government can get that.
They're talking right now about, and maybe we're going to need to fact check this again, because I was reading it this morning. But basically, they want it to promote Canadian. Something to do with basically what Canadian greatness, whatever it is, they talk about it, and Indigenous affairs. And you're like, oh, so they're going to say a number of things are un-Canadian, and then you can just silence them. Look what Trudeau did with the truckers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
We just had one of their guys on to talk about it.
Not just the truckers, but people who donated to the truckers got their bank accounts closed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that is wild.
Yeah.
You got locked out of all of your money because you donated to a cause where you didn't think that people should have to take an experimental vaccine in order to be able to work to drive a truck.
But
really?
Yeah.
Really? You think that's okay? That's so not okay. The fact that those people aren't up in arms. The whole country didn't freak out and demand a fucking change. Like, you can't have, that's dictatorship stuff. That's
Right.
what that is. It's Banana Republic stuff.
We do these calls with our top supporters, and we have some in Canada. We have this lady who's been supporting us for years, and she's always fine. And in the middle of this thing, she was like, "I'm terrified. I'm not going to be able to eat because they're going to shut down my bank account."
God.
Right? In Canada.
It's so crazy that they think they could do that if people disagree with them. Because that's all they're doing. They're just disagreeing. And they're supporting a protest. It should be, and it was a peaceful protest. Those people did it the right way. They just parked their trucks and they didn't block roads off. They didn't do anything fucked up.
But if you...
It remained more peaceful than any other protest in Canadian history, and it was also the largest protest in Canadian history. This is absurd. Justin Trudeau is spiraling so out of control that he's not only trying to regulate what the news is saying, but he's trying to regulate what individual creators or independent media is trying to say on the internet, which is why we all need to protect ourselves. And I mean, thankfully, this video is sponsored by Private Internet Access, because at some point in time, you will be restricted from viewing material or content from certain either areas of Canada or even just around the world.
Frame it that these people, which is how they were being framed as racist far right. Well, look,
Yeah.
You're giving money to a far right racist organization. You're encouraging hate. Well, the government has to step in. We have to step in, and we need to freeze everything because we need to make everything safe.
What was this most recent apology because they accidentally awarded a Nazi?
Yeah.
Like, what happened?
I think Zelensky was visiting the Canadian Parliament, and they got some guy who was a Ukrainian, inverted commas, war veteran. Turned out he fought for the bad guys in that one.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I don't think like Zelensky or I don't know.
Probably didn't know.
Yeah, he didn't know. But so imagine you're sitting in Parliament and everyone's like, "Hey, let's do stand up and give a round of applause for this war veteran." You're like, and then it turns out you're applauding a Nazi.
How old is this dude?
Old. Like,
Yeah.
He
old.
probably doesn't even know. I'm not a good guy. I'm not a fucking good guy. Maybe he's like tricked himself. That he wasn't a Nazi.
Yeah.
Imagine.
I mean, yeah, that whole situation, I think, will go down in Canadian history as one of the most embarrassing things that our Canadian politicians have ever done. But I'd love to know what you guys think down below in the comments. Are you against podcast regulation? Are you a communist or something similar and for podcast regulation? I'd love to know what you guys think down below in the comments. Now let's take a look at Andrew Scheer has to say on Twitter about last month. Trudeau's environment minister said there would be no special deals for provinces. And now there's a special deal because the Liberals are worried about losing votes. Conservatives will axe the carbon tax for every Canadian. No gimmicks, just fairness and common sense. And this just goes to show the downward spiral of where Justin Trudeau just finds himself right now. He's put out messages like this, and then we're going to look at the backtrack that he's recently done.
But there will be no carve-out for a province. How fair would it be for the rest of the Federation if we started carving out exception for provinces? We didn't do it for pricing. We worked with all provinces to ensure that we had a fair and equitable system when it came to pricing, and we will do the same for the clean electricity regulations.
Which is absolutely hilarious because he has since done things specially for provinces. Atlantic Canada is now exempt from the carbon tax for those who are heating their homes with oil because, well, they're panicking and they wanted to buy more votes. Let's take a look at this CTV question period power play video where Brian Lilly shared the clip saying, here she is. Liberal MP Goody Hutchings saying if people want the goodies, they have to vote Liberal. They don't even hide it anymore.
Just to pick up on that point and the possibility of further amendments to this policy based on issues around affordability. I know that both the Premier of Alberta and the Leader of the Opposition in that province posted statements following the decision around home heating oil. Premier Smith said the federal government has decided that one part of Canada with one type of home heating is worthy of a carbon tax break, while those living elsewhere using another type of home heating do not. Is your government open to, because of the affordability crisis right across this country, looking at other carve-outs for other types of home heating in the future?
That's a discussion that we'll have down the road when we know that this one is working. But I can tell you, Atlantic Caucus was vocal with what they've heard from their constituents, and perhaps they need to elect more Liberals on the prairies so that we can have that conversation as well.
With respect, Minister, does that mean because there aren't Liberals in the prairies right now that are represented around the caucus or around the cabinet table, that the people of Alberta will have to live a more unaffordable life than the people in Atlantic Canada? Does that seem fair?
Vashi, they're going to have the same options. They're going to get the doubling of the rural rebate, and then when the program rolls out, they will be able to afford the oil to heat pump. And trust me, Atlantic Canada, the Atlantic Caucus came with these options. They presented them to the Prime Minister, they presented them to the Cabinet, and they said, this is what we think will work in rural Canada and in rural Atlantic Canada. We also have a rural caucus. The rural caucus in Ottawa was fully supportive of this, and I'm sure if it works, and it's going to, the overall message here is to put more money in people's pockets and to reduce the impact of our carbon footprint on the country. We all have to do better for our generation, for our grandchildren's generations, and future generations. So let's come to the table with solutions, and I'll challenge anybody to come to the table with a solution of how we can lower our carbon footprint all across the country. That's what this is all about, Fatty.
But it's also about responding to concerns around affordability. And again, home heating oil is used primarily in Atlantic Canada. I'm simply asking for provinces that don't rely on that, but are paying a carbon tax on what they do rely on to heat their homes while simultaneously facing an affordability crisis, the same that Atlantic Canadians are. Is your government open to a conversation about helping them out?
We're always open to conversations to help all Canadians, Vashi, on the affordability issue, and especially when it is reducing the carbon footprint. That's what we have to do for all families. And again, it is an affordability issue, and this is all about putting money back on people's kitchen tables.
These people are sick and twisted and demented. If you vote for us, we will, in your region only, we're going to make it so you don't have to pay the carbon tax, but only if you vote Liberal. That's insane. The Conservatives have a wildly different approach. We're just going to axe that tax across the country for all provinces and territories because it's absolutely insane. And if we look at the map here of the last election, the results of the 2019 federal election, all of Atlantic Canada is Liberal. And so that's why Justin Trudeau did what he did in Atlantic Canada by cutting or pausing the carbon tax for the next 3 years until after the next scheduled election, because he wants to retain Liberal majority in Atlantic Canada. And in order to try and farm more votes right here in the prairies, that's what he's just said. That's what that Liberal minister just said. If the prairies are more for Liberals, then and switch from Conservatives, as you can see the blue, then we will consider pausing the carbon tax for them. It's absurd. It's insane. You've never seen anything like this in Canada. This is total communist. And if by the time you're at this point in this video, you don't see that this is communist, tyrannical dictatorship, then, as they say in the South, bless your heart. But this is where we're going to end today's video. I'd love to know what you guys think down below in the comments. Are you for Atlantic Canada being paused on the carbon tax? Do you think all of Canada should just scrap the carbon tax so that we can actually combat the affordability crisis here in Canada? I'd love to know what you guys think down below in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you again, Private Internet Access, for sponsoring today's video, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye for now.